Yeah, so on that side of it, you know, we've incentivized the electric company to make the changes.
Right.
And now we're in a situation where we're best friends with the electric company. So we're talking to them about hydrogen. We're talking to them about all kinds of things. Like, my friend has joined me again. What are you doing up here, huh?
Looking for something.
Can you imagine? He's followed me up.
Yeah.
Followed me up here.
So what you're doing is you help the electrical company. You help the electrical company turn the corner in their mind. Number one, about what's desirable, and then about what's possible and what's more profitable.
Yeah, so it's not just an electric company that I'm just adjusting my tripod because it's too tall. Sure. We changed the mindset of Hawaii. And I think that's the big deal, is that
I see.
we changed the way people think about energy in Hawaii. And that is, you know, that's where it starts.
That's huge.
Once you change the minds of the people from it can't be done or it's never going to happen to, of course it's going to happen.
Sure.
Then everything else becomes easy. And so that is the thing that I guess I'm the most proud of. We changed people's minds in Hawaii. We changed the mind about
fantastic.
Fossil fuel is the only way to renewable energy is better and cheaper.
Incredible. And are you saying that the electric company, with that mindset change of the people, the electric company followed suit and became...
They followed suit. In fact, the guy who is now in charge of, who's the president of the electric company, is totally my friend. I went from being like a pain in the ass to the electric company to being their best friend and helping them figure out how to get to a clean energy future.
That's
so
fantastic.
And that's what I really want to do for the rest of the planet. So today I'm working on with, how you want to say it, we're in negotiation with the Small Island Developing States. That's an organization of 57 countries. 57 countries, small island developers. There's mostly small islands
South
like
Pacific.
Fiji, South Pacific, Caribbean.
Yes.
And there's 57 of them, which means they get 57 votes in the United Nations.
Oh, General Assembly, yes.
Yes, yes. And so basically we're working with them. If we can get them all to have a mandate for 100% by 2045, by the way, those votes are valuable.
Sure.
Countries that want something, like some country wants a seat on the Security Council, they have to be nice to these 57 countries. And usually that being nice is in the form of foreign aid. Now, in the past, foreign aid has been squandered. And so even though they give money to some island, somebody on the island gets rich and the population doesn't improve. So basically what we want to do is, instead of giving them money, give them energy. Give them renewable energy. Because once you give it to you, it's the gift that lasts forever.
That's right.
In the past, many islands have gotten diesel generators.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem with the diesel generator is it breaks down and nobody knows how to fix it. And then when somebody finally does come, it's really expensive. And then the second thing is they can't afford the diesel. And so, I mean,
and they're still locked into the fossil fuel cycle.
Yes, they're locked in. They're locked in. So half of the diesel generators in the Pacific on islands are not working for those two reasons. And so if they had solar panels and batteries, that would be a whole different story.
And wind is a perfect thing for those areas. And that's also something, I mean, I'm sure you've thought about it 1,000 times, but when you have intermittent solar because of cloud cover, and you have wind, especially in Hawaii, you have an offset. And not to mention hydro and geothermal changes the energy game tremendously. But I know you've been here.
This is the kind of a crazy thing. You know, we have trade winds in Hawaii, sure. Which means the wind blows consistently, have a fairly strong wind from the same direction 95% of the time.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one. Number two is we're closest to the equator of any state. We're at 20, 21 degrees latitude, which means that we have the best solar of any place in the country. Okay, and then number three, I'm sitting here on an active volcano. Active volcano.
Be careful.
So geothermal, and I went to Iceland to visit their geothermal plants. They're amazing. It completely transformed Iceland. So we could power the entire state of Hawaii just on geothermal. That's one. We could use the geothermal, the excess. By the way, that's base load. It doesn't go on and off. Once it turns on, it stays on. That's the difference. Geothermal is base load.
Uninterrupted.
So we could use that to make hydrogen. Because, say you had 1,000 megawatts coming out of the ground, out of the geothermal. At night, we only need, 200 or 300, for example. So what do you do with the extra energy? And the answer is you make hydrogen. And this is the other thing that we're experimenting with here at the ranch, because the panels, they're built so that they work on a cloudy day. I didn't mention this, but I'm completely disconnected from the electric company. I'm not connected at all. We're independent. We're energy independent. Beautiful. So we had an interruption in our Wi-Fi, and I asked what's going on, and look out the window. And this whole end of Hawaii, the lights were out, but we were still on, of course. So we didn't know there was no power interruption. This is the
power of grid independence you're highlighting here. And as you know, I'm working on such a project, so I totally appreciate all you're saying.
So if you're going to be off grid, then you have to build your panels so that they work on a cloudy day. So you have to overbuild them. And this is in fact what you have to do. If we wanted to get Hawaii to become energy independent with solar, they would have to build probably twice as much solar as they need on a normal day. Why? Because it has to work on a cloudy day.
Yes, indeed.
And so what happens on a sunny day, we have way more energy than we can use because it was built for a cloudy day.
But can you store it?
Well, you can store some of it in batteries.
Yeah.
But a battery is a very expensive way to store energy. And so we could, for example, have a week's worth of battery, but it would cost us a fortune. What we have at the ranch is one night's worth of battery power. Now, what happens if it's cloudy all day or a couple of days? And this is our backup. On a sunny day, we use the extra energy to make hydrogen.
Okay.
And we store the hydrogen. Now, hydrogen, hydrogen, you can turn it back into electricity, or you can use it as fuel for a vehicle.
Yes.
And that is the whole new thing that's happening, right? I just ordered a hydrogen pickup truck that was just announced last week. A company called Nikola. Of course, Nikola and Tesla, right?
Sure.
Duh.
They don't leave the guy alone.
Well, he's got a legacy going now. Oh my gosh.
He sure does. He continues to live, which is so appropriate, It's
so appropriate, yeah. So that's really the solution for, I would say, islands. So one of the things that we're trying to do here is to bootstrap to get the hydrogen economy going. It's kind of a chicken and egg. Yeah. You need hydrogen fueling stations to have vehicles, and you need vehicles to make a hydrogen fueling station. So we're actually we're negotiating with the city and county to buy a fleet of hydrogen buses. That would give us the stud. Then we could go out and raise the money to make hydrogen fueling stations. So that's the conversation we're in right now.
This is
but hydrogen, so it's pretty interesting because you can ship hydrogen around from place to place. So I was in Singapore, and I was on the radio. This is the day after I arrived to Singapore. I was there for some conference. They put me on the radio, and I was there 5 minutes early, and they said, "This is Singapore. No cursing, no cursing." So I knew I was in Singapore, okay?
No littering,
So
no
they were
cursing.
asking me the same kind of questions that you were asking me. And then it's,
Yeah.
well, what can we do in Singapore? We have no place to put solar panels or wind turbines. And my answer was,
Oh,
well, I just got here yesterday, so I don't know what your situation is, but I'm guessing you're importing fossil fuel from somewhere and turning that into electricity. Here's what you could do. You could build a wind farm in Australia where there's lots of land, lots of wind, and places where there are no people.
mm-hmm.
You could make hydrogen, and you could bring that hydrogen back to Singapore and then run your economy off of hydrogen. Then you would be clean. So, and I realized that would be a solution for a lot of places.
Including Hawaii and the 57 small island nations you're referring to.
There you go.
So, absolutely.
Now I heard this also, because Australia is a big exporter of coal to China, to Japan, to a bunch of places. And as people saying, we don't want your coal, they're thinking, what are we going to export? So now they're working on figuring out how to export hydrogen.
Right. So
building hydrogen tanker ships. There's lots of different ways you can move hydrogen. You could turn it into ammonia, in which case you don't have to pressurize it so much. It pretty much stays liquid at just below room temperature, or at room temperature, I guess. You could turn it into ammonia and then turn it back into hydrogen when you get to the other end of it.
I'm not familiar enough with the chemistry and all, but I would like to bring something up, Henk, because I think it's really exemplary also, and it's just part of who you are, and I really want people to kind of grok that, if you will. And that has to do with what happened in Hawaii with the Hurricane Maria, and the fact that the infrastructure absolutely went out. And then there were some people, including you, who went in order to assess the damage, assess the situation, and then use this moment to help them transform into renewables. So,
yeah, so
tell us that story.
Yeah, so you're not talking about Hawaii, you're talking about Puerto Rico.
I'm sorry. Oh, I said Hawaii. I'm so enamored of Hawaii.
Yeah,
Puerto Rico. Sure.
Puerto Rico.
Sorry,
so,
yeah.
Yes. So, after the hurricane, during the hurricane, people are supposed to go to shelters, and the shelters are schools. And so people are supposed to shelter at the schools because they're concrete structures,
yes,
and they have kitchen and so on and so forth. They all failed because they were all connected to the grid and there was no electricity. Means the kitchen, no refrigeration, no light. You can't have a shelter that has no light, no refrigeration, no nothing. And so they all failed. And so the Red Cross decided to do something about it. Mm-hmm. And basically they retrofit all the schools in Puerto Rico with solar panels and batteries. And there are batteries. And the reason there are batteries is because it's a benign chemistry. They can't put toxic, flammable batteries into a school. Not in a school.
It shouldn't be anywhere. But
well, exactly. They shouldn't be anywhere. So this is my worry. My worry is that in our hurry to find a solution, renewable energy solution,
yes,
we might be creating another problem. Like a car with an internal combustion engine was a solution to a horse.
I was just about to bring that up because I learned that only within the last year about fossil fuel being a solution to an environmental problem. It was also a solution to the issue of whale oil and the killing of whales for that oil, which they use to light houses.
Yeah, yeah. So, if you go back in time to the time when they made that decision, it was a pretty good decision because, the amount of impact, a couple of thousand cars or whatever they were using the oil back then,
that's right.
Nature could take care of it. But today, with 7 billion people all using internal combustion engines, it's too much.
Absolutely.
And so now we have to go to the next phase. And the next phase is wind, solar, and batteries. And we have to be careful not to make batteries or any of that be a problem in the future.
Well,
and that's why.
you also know, Hank, that even the construction of solar panels is rather toxic in itself. It's no walk in the park from an environmental, health point of view. So that's something that needs to get seriously upgraded as well.
Yeah, I think there are many technologies for creating solar panels. They're not all created equal. And so if we as consumers had a little intelligence into what the damage of solar, which, different makers of solar panels, and bought the ones that have less damage, even though they might not be the most efficient, that would change the behavior of the solar panel companies.
Sure, but you're
It's
giving that education now to kids, which is the kind of education we all need, frankly. I hope you come and educate us here in New York. Well, you are through this interview, so I appreciate that. But no, your point is very well made. And so in Puerto Rico, you brought your energy storage, you engaged the solar companies, and now they actually have more of a renewable energy infrastructure.
Well, what happened is recently there was an earthquake in Puerto Rico, and they had to go to the emergency shelters, and they all worked. So well, Puerto Rico there's a lot of problems in Puerto Rico with it's a political problem mostly.
Yeah.
But the situation in Hawaii and the situation in Puerto Rico with regards to energy is all identical. In other words, we have wires that strung from mountain to mountain, and that's how we get our electricity. If a hurricane happens, the wire falls down. We're not like next to California where they can just, send the trucks with people to fix it. This is a big project.
Well,
so for
what
resilience,
we're addressing also with, something of the project I'm working on, so we don't have to deal with those issues at all, because those high wire lines are largely what has caused the fires all over California, which has led to massive devastation and lives.
Yeah, and so there's that. And so, the other interesting thing about that is because PG&E was held liable for a bunch of those fires and the damage caused by the fires. Now, just in case, when the strong winds come, they turn off the electricity in the wires. And so what that means is that there are large sections of California go dark.
Without electricity.
And if you're in a zone where you're going to maybe have a forest fire, do you really want to have a tank of diesel fuel in your backyard? I don't think so.
Or if you're running a medical facility and say you're on dialysis or any kind of medical application, you cannot afford to have an interruption in electricity. It's literally life-threatening.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They use diesel generators traditionally for that situation. And when I went to Puerto Rico, I saw so many diesel generators. They stink, they're noisy, and they're dangerous.
And they're not efficient at all, by and large.
So and then of course, if there's an emergency, then who gets the diesel? The people with the most money or the people with the most control, and so on and so forth. So people need to be energy independent. So I've become energy independent here at the ranch. I have a home in Honolulu. We're off grid as well. The electric company told me, no, you can't have solar panels on your roof. I said, what do you mean? Your neighborhood is full. It's like, what does that mean? It's like, well, we can only take 15% penetration of solar in any neighborhood.
That's what
they couldn't handle it. Yeah, it says, okay, well, bye. So 4th of July 6 years ago, I declared energy independence. That's the day that I disconnected from the electric company and became energy independent. Yay. And we celebrate it. We celebrate Energy Independence Day every 4th of July.
I love it.
Yeah. Except for this year, because of COVID, we didn't have the big celebration. But this year, it would have been 6 years. Well, it was 6 years.
It will be a double celebration. But, there's another important area that is happening as a result of global warming across the world. Of course, that means that everything is getting hotter and hotter. And the conversion to renewables is not as fast as we'd like. So we need to have solutions across the board. Things like air conditioning and refrigeration are becoming all the more important and popular because more and more places are too hot to live in. They're becoming threatened, literally. So I know that you are working on a project or connected to one that addresses the issue of, that's on our side, no worry.
Yes, I know. I don't have a landline.
Yeah, we still have them here.
Yeah, so refrigeration and yeah, this is a whole nother subject,
Yeah,
which
if
is
you
really
just
important.
address it briefly, just to hear what your thoughts are.
Yeah, so I'm looking into a technology that makes refrigeration more efficient. So there is a new, and I haven't vetted this yet, so I'm waiting for the samples to it. This is what I do at the ranch. Somebody comes and tells me, oh, I've got this great new idea, or this great new product. And I said, that's going to help the world. I said, okay, send it to me, we'll test it, and then I'll let you know if I'm interested. So that's where I am with this stuff. Yeah. But if it pans out, we're talking about 26 to 30% reduction in energy needed for refrigeration and air conditioning. Now, I'm on the big island of Hawaii. Our total grid size is about 200 megawatts. 40% of all electricity on the big island goes to cool hotels. 40%. So that's 80 megawatts. Yeah, 80 megawatts. I mean, if you could take that 80 megawatts and take off 30%, oh, that's huge. It's huge.
Imagine.
So yeah, refrigeration.
Please let me know what comes of those tests. I'm connected to a wonderful gentleman also who I've known for some years who are working on that project, and I would love to see good things happen.
Good things, yes.
As a result. Well, I love what you're doing here with the Energy Lab, Hank, and what you're doing with the 2045 commitment. What last words would you like to share with our audience? I mean, you're doing so much, we're going to have you on again, but this has been a good introduction for a lot of people to the world of Henk Rogers.
So I got started with renewable energy and trying to end the use of carbon-based fuel. That's where I started.
Yes. And
I traveled around the world, talked to people and say, you know what? We need to work together. What should we do? You know, what are the things that need to get done? And OMG, there are so many different things that need to get done. Plastic in the ocean, landfill, sewage being dumped into rivers, and so on and so on. All these things. By the way, if we get to 10 billion people by 2050 and we continue living that way, we're going to be drowning in something. And energy is only one part of the puzzle. So
correct.
I kind of broaden the scope of what I'm trying to achieve. Now I'm trying to create a world where humanity and nature live in harmony. Full stop. You know, we have at the United Nations, we have the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, and they end in 2030. So we're not in a position to go sustainable. We have to clean up first, then become sustainable. So I'd like the next 15, meaning the 2030 to 2045, the 15 years, be the regenerative development goals, where we regenerate nature, we take back all the garbage, we take the carbon dioxide out of the air.
Waste to energy.
All that.
Zero
and so
waste.
Basically we have to fix everything. And I think we have to fix everything by 2045. So it's not just 100% renewable energy. It's plastic in the ocean. It's making sure that we still have fish because we're overfishing, that we haven't cut down the Amazon rainforest. I mean, there's so many things that are happening that need to be fixed. They all need to be fixed. And I want them all fixed by 2045.
Well,
so
you and me both, brother. Let me tell you. I've been at this for a long time as well. So
there you go.
I know, I really very much appreciate it. I want to ask you, were you at all inclined when you were doing the video gaming business toward a mindset of the environment and caretaking and stewardship? Or is that something that really happened in the ambulance, so to speak, and reading the newspaper clip about
So I come from the game business, and you know, and there are so many violent, destructive games out there, and I think that basically it gives young people a violent, destructive mindset. Like that is how you solve your problem,
correct.
you know. And so I well, first of all, I never published or worked on a game that I didn't want my children to play. And that was the bottom line. I mean, would you like your children to spend their time, you know, killing people, or would you like them to do, I don't know, have an adventure in a fairy tale? You know, come on.
Or a voyage
You know,
under the sea.
Would you read your 4-year-old Cinderella or Saving Private Ryan? It's like, really?
Exactly.
It's like, come on.
That's right.
Use a little common sense here. And so we need a little parental common sense and a little common sense in the game business, because I feel like by and large, we've been polluting people's minds. And that is not that's not what it's for. You can do good things with it, and you can do bad things. So
Absolutely.
why not do good things? Yeah.
You can see it that way. But I was wondering if, you know, you said you're from the gaming business. No, you're really actually from nature herself, our real Mother Earth. That's where you're really from. So I was just wondering, Henk, if you felt any type of inclination before that moment of awakening, or that moment was really like a thunderbolt that changed things for future.
Okay, so so if you go back to when I was living in Hawaii the first time and surfing and diving and fell in love with the ocean, my love for nature, you know, basically came from there.
Yeah.
And so it was always there, and I think it's always there for anybody who's ever been into nature.
Yes.
None of the problems, we go back to our condominium and we forget about nature. We get disconnected again. Yeah. So yes, I cared, but I didn't do anything about it, or I didn't do enough about it. And that's really the difference that we need to make in the world today, is that everybody needs to care a little bit and do a little bit more than they're doing now. You know, some people don't even understand that they're destroying nature. And daily things. So I'm going to gamify this, by the way. I'm a game designer, so I'm going to turn this into a big game where you get points by doing actions that help nature.
Oh, that's great.
So I'm working on this right now.
That's great. I don't know if you're familiar with the compassion games, but a dear friend of mine has come up with that as a game, not on, you know, in a device, but rather in cities where people get points, like merits for doing things that help other people. But it's along a similar kind of line, but this one for the environment. So
good, excellent.
I applaud your thinking all the way around, as well as your actions. So
thank you.
Henk Rogers, what a pleasure to have you on today and talk about all this. It's deep, it's heartfelt, it's meaningful, and it's world changing. So love to have you back on another time to pick up where we left off.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. Goodbye, everybody. This is what we do in Hawaii. Aloha, or shaka.
Aloha.
This way.
Mahalo.
Thumb and pinky.
Thumb and pinky.
You've got an extra finger up there. There you go. That's it.
I've been there. I've been on a surfboard.
Aloha. All right. Take care.
Thanks again.
Bye.
Bye-bye. This is Mitchell J. Rabin. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Very special to learn about what Henk Rogers is doing and what's going on in the world. People are doing extraordinary things and stepping up to the plate at this extraordinary moment in time, in history, on so many levels. So I want to just invite you all to be part of the solution, become part of A Better World's family, community. Go to our website, www.abetterworld.tv, sign up, get our newsletter, We're on television every Monday evening, and we're on radio every week. So thanks again for joining. Please share your thoughts with us. Love hearing from you, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.